Hey Guff Gang, welcome to a Path of Exile video. Today we're going to go through the path of buildings I have been doing for the 3 videos I gameplay showed on the YouTube video I did a few days ago. Apologies, I am very tired. As you can see here, it is nearly 2300 hours local time for me. I've been up since very early this morning. I've had a lot of IRL chores and responsibilities to see to today, trying to get enough time so I can have a few days away from doing that for league start. Additionally, we received some sad news today, so that was being dealt with. And then it was running a build through Solo Self-Found Standard to test a few theories and get some information. So all of that has caused a delay. Some of the POBs I'm going to show you are a little scuffed. I assure you they've all been tested. 2 of them have been tested profusely by me in various stages, both in Solo Self-Found League Star and in Trade League Star. So with all that, disclaimers and caveats. Additionally, a lot of these builds include uniques. Now we know the trade market has changed with the Exalted Orb and Divine Orb change, and GGG says they have nerfed the drop rate of uniques. So if there is a unique there you're having trouble getting hold of, or it's out of your price range, replace it with a rare. The most important thing is on these builds is you're hitting your resists, you're hitting your stat requirements, and if you're running Heist, lots of movement speed. That's the best I can say. The gear is a suggestion only, with best in slot or BIS items noted on the build once you get into endgame. So with that caveat and disclaimer out of the way, let's bring up the path of building. There we go. So as you can see here, I've got 3 builds I'm going to be personally going through today. They will be updated onto the Google Doc I usually do, and the Google Doc will be linked below in the description. Other content creators' builds from previous leagues will remain on there. I'm going to do a full review and change how I do the POBs in week 3 or 4 of the league. So I apologise if they're a little bit scuffed, as I said earlier. Let's go through them. We'll start with Baby Endless Heist, which is a raider. I run it as 59 to 60. You can run it as 60 to 61 or 61 to 62. That is perfectly fine. That is your choice. You have options for more uniques to put on your character, and the contracts are higher level, so you get higher chance of getting higher eye level uniques. Fine, that is your choice. Go for it. That's fine. You'll need to amend the trees and gear appropriately and be wary of your gem levels. So level 1 to 4 and normal lab tree. Ideally you want to come through here first, pick up ballistics, and then go down for finesse through the mana node, because that holds some strength and intelligence. That's why we pick it up, and then get the life. After that, this lot needs to be done. Whichever order you do it in, it's up to you. You can come through and get the life and a bit of DPS for more DPS, mana res, etc, etc. The mana reservation needs to be got once you're in Act 3 and you've got your auras, so bear that in mind. And then obviously normal lab, I prefer to go rapid assault. If you want to pick up phasing first, that's your choice. I prefer rapid assault because of the attack speed and movement speed. From there we go into Act 5 to 7. So again, where you pick up these nodes is completely your choice. This is where you need to be at the end of Act 7. And also, let's tick off the Crawl Lab Ascendancy. There we go. Save that. So ideally this is where you want to be before you go into the Temple of Decay in the Val City. It can be a bit difficult because you are about level 50 to level 50 to 53 and Cruel Lab is level 55. I have done it on suboptimal builds with suboptimal gear at level 52, 53. I didn't have a problem. So good luck with that. I hope you make it through. And then we go for Act 8 to 10. We get to the stage where the quest state says kill Katava. That means you're going to have to go and get the Staff of Purity, give it to Innocence, meet Innocence at the Horns, and at that point the quest log will come up and say kill Katava. At that stage, it is perfectly fine if you wish to kill Katava to get the 2 passive points. Please note, you'll then need an additional 120 res. That's 30 res on all your reses: fire, lightning, cold and chaos, which is why people don't do it if they're running a baby heist. It's considered not worth it. I've had debates with people. I now say it's personal choice. If you want to go ahead and kill Katava to get those 2 passive points, fine. You're going to need more resistance on your gear. That's up to you. This is where you need to be before you then start the endless heist thing. So we've got the final respec there with the cluster jewel, and I'll go through the gear in a moment. So this is ideally where you want to be when you start running your baby heist strategy. We move into the skills now. These skills are a bit scuffed. I've learnt some tricks from Pox and Shack Central where they've been doing their Path of Building streams. So this will all change setup once we hit week 3 or 4 of the league, and I've got time to really focus on these POBs, and patch 319 is live and I can log into standard and do some testing. But essentially we level with a Toxic Rain Ballista Totem. Yes, I know a lot of people are now fed up with it, but it is one of the best ways to do it in my opinion. You just throw down your totems, the Toxic Rain goes out all over the place. It's easy to scale the chaos damage over time where we are on the tree, and the gearing is so easy for it. Any totem ballista or spell totem build will work. You just throw your totems down and move on, kill stuff. The reason we go with then back that up with a caustic arrow is because of Mirage Archer. But again, if you want to change out Toxic Rain for AN other skill, take out caustic arrow, slap a different bow skill in there with Mirage Archer and appropriate supports, and go for it. I just prefer chaos damage over time because that is the damage with the least amount of resistances in the game still. We won't talk about Chaos Weaver Archer mod. Move on. Move skills while leveling is dash and blink arrow because they don't share a cooldown, so you can dash through monsters and then blink arrow down a ledge, up a ledge, round a corner, etc. Once we get to Act 6, we have access to, as soon as you get into Act 6, if this is your first build, you want to go and do Lilith's quest first to open up her gems. That's the first thing you want to do. Don't worry about anything else. You go into Act 6, you hang a left, straight in there and go and clear the thing out. I think you have to pick up the quest, I'm not sure. But anyway, as soon as you've done that, hopefully you've got a 5-link weapon or body armor, and unless your weapon has plus gems to socketed, it doesn't matter which one is 5-linked. You want to be setting up your 5-link caustic arrow first, because that is the one better suited for bosses when we are using decay. So essentially this is your single target boss and rare killer, and then your Toxic Rain totem is your clear. If you're lucky enough to get 2 5-links, whether buying them from trade or dropping, then great, fine. We can set up our cast and damage taken setup and replace dash and blink arrow with phase run. Caustic arrow. We then go for our gloves. Now at this stage you may have some currency to buy a level 1 enlighten. If you have, put it on a whoop, get it as soon as you can. You might have to wait until you start your endless heist strategy to have the chaos from the chaos recipe to then buy one. Again, with the minor reservation mastery being removed, the enlightens, the replica concoficiency, and the minor reservation clusters could all see a massive spike in price. That's that caveat and disclaimer done. Purity of elements is the main one you want to get done first, so get that in your gear, turn that on. That is massive for us. After that, it's your choice. You can either go for determination to be defensive or malevolence for DPS. Until you get to your end game gear, it is highly doubtful that you're going to be able to have both on, unless for some stretch of the imagination you have a level 2 enlighten. And then these gems can be stuck anywhere just for leveling up until you get your boots. Alternatively, you can take out Withering Touch and throw in a Frost Blink as a second movement skill, and you go Frost Blink, Hex Touch, Despair, and that's your hex done for your bosses. And then finally into end game, we're looking at a 6-link weapon with the Toxic Rain set up, your full cast from damage taken set up, your 6-link caustic arrow set up, your 3 auras or 2/3 auras depending, with hopefully a level 2 enlighten or level 3, depends how lucky you get with your drops and stuff. And then you've got your setup in your boots. On to gear. Leveling gear. Yep, we've covered the caveat of the small cluster jewel and the replica concoficiency. I did that shortly earlier. Hiri's Bite. Now I know Hiri's Demise has been changed and basically removed from the game. Nothing in the patch notes says about Hiri's Bite or the recipe to do that, so that should be fine. It is a BIS item. If you want to get a rare, then go for it. There are rare quivers that can help you out. The reason we go for Hiri's Bite is if you're lucky with the GCP, you can get one in Act 1/Act 2, and the stats on the thing, even if they lowball roll, it's fine. It helps you out so much. And I haven't replaced mine in standard on my baby Heist character, and that is thousands of days worth of playtime. So all the other gear is suggested bases, and you're literally looking for life, resists, movement speed, priority on your boots. Now whether you get lucky enough to buy one from the vendor or whether you do the recipe, which is normal or magic boots with a quicksilver flask and an orb of augmentation. Now what I normally do is get to Act 2, complete the den, take the quicksilver, get the quicksilver from Act 1 and sacrifice it to guarantee movement speed on my boots. It adds 5% to your movement speed on your boots. If you've got 10, it'll go up to 15, to 20, to 25, to 30. You cannot get 35% with this vendor recipe. And that'll give you your magic boots with room to craft a suffix, generally a resistance that you're lacking, just to help you out through the acts. And I've had a 3-link energy shield boots that I got in Act 1 as soon as I entered the town, and I've carried those boots all the way through to Act 10. Why? Because I was lucky enough to get enough quicksilvers that those boots ended up with 25% movement speed on them, and I didn't take them off until I got my replica lion eye spores. Just saying. Amulet wise, you're looking for one to cover your stats, so you might need a strength one, you might need an intelligence one. So and then here really you'd be looking for a heavy belt with the strength implicit, which will then tie up this to have an intelligence amulet, lapis amulet I believe it's called. Rings, a hope of all are still the BIS rings. There is a div card for it for get corrupted ones. I'm not sure what level requirement they are. I don't know how popular they're going to be with people or how rare they're going to be. Best advice, set up a whoop and watch a trade market for it. Alternatively, just get dual resists and then have suffix open to craft any stats you might need. You're losing a ton of damage from them, but Until the patch 3.19 drops, we have no idea how rare these things are going to be. Once we get into Endless Heist, this is ideal setup. Again, caveat, no idea how common the quill rains are going to be. A lot of content creators are pushing builds with bow builds with quill rains. So you might have to sacrifice a quill rain to get a silver branch, or whatever that bow's called, and throw your caustic arrow in there because it has an innate +1 to socketed gems. That's an alternative. Here is bite you can craft yourself. In previous leagues they go for 1 to 5C. Rat's Nest does have a div card for it. They've never been in great use. I always pick up one for 1C unless I'm chasing a really good roll, which is generally max rarity because it's the only thing that really applies to us. And a high evasion base just to help us out. So yeah, Lionized Paws, again, I don't know how popular that's going to be. It depends. You can grind the sub boss in Act 6 before you go through the doors to kill Tukukama. So you can grind there. It can take a while, and I know a lot of people tend to go there and grind out for lionized items like the flask, etc, etc. And they get the boots and they are unhappy and they throw them on trade for 1C, so you could get lucky. We've covered the small cluster jewel, replica conch, and the hoop of all. And then final, the BIS gear, 6-link quill rain, here is bite, Rat's Nest, Queen of the Forest, again, don't know how popular / expensive it's going to be. Replica lionized paws, that's just going to come down to drop rates from people farming BPs, loop of alls, and then the jewel setup. That's that. We hit the notes. I've updated these because I've realised there was lots of mistakes in the strategy and reasoning. I'm also going to include the link to my YouTube video here. I probably won't get that till tonight because it's really late and I really need to go to bed. So that's that there, and all the links and where to get gems if you're doing League Start. If you're not doing League Start, this is all completely pointless. You buy leveling gear and buy all your gems from Lilith, throw them in a stash tab, and then just pick them up as and when you can. Go through all the way through, and then your Act 6 links here. In my opinion, what to buy. And then if you really want to go big, you can buy the alt quality gems. We can't use awakened gems, we are too low level. Awakened gems require you to be level 72 even at level 1, so they're out. And then you can, if you really want to go big, you can either go for an ashes if you're running a level 60 plus version, or you can go for the ultimate BIS item and get a Simplex amulet from trade. The lowest eye level they can get is level 71, so you buy the cheapest one you can find at item level 71, you scour it, and then you hope, because then what you need to do is you need to get the 4 stats we're looking for are chaos resistance, damage over time multiplier, increased evasion, and life. And then the Simplex amulet can only have 4 explicits on it, but they're increased by 25%, which makes it awesome. I have done one. The amulet my character is wearing in standard, I crafted that within 4 goes on a 3 resonator. I used if you go onto the link there, Craft of Exile, I've included that tiny URL that takes you to Craft of Exile. Pop in your resonators in the upper left and it'll do the calculation for you. Ideally you want to be using 3 or 4 slot resonators. Somebody reached out to me and did say they'd spent over 20 exalted orbs in 3.18 trying to roll this amulet, and they did about 600 tries and they hadn't hit anything. So there's a caveat. I done it in 4, that person did it in 500, 600. Good luck if you're going to try it, but it is the BIS amulet. Right, that's the baby heist done. We're not going to save it. I'm just going to take a drink. Move on to the blueprint farmer, or the high level raider version of the baby heist. Pretty much the same. There's a small, slight difference in the passive tree as we go through level 1 to 4. Pick up onslaught again and rapid assault. Go to 5 to 7. Now, I think it's here somewhere. Yeah, here we take an int node to help out with our intelligence requirements for our gems. So once you get to the point where you've got a double stat amulet, strength and intelligence roll implicit, or you've got enough stats, you can remove the int node, gain the passive skill. You also need to change the tree. I haven't done it on this version. Whoops. So we just come through here, take that point and remove that. There we go. So you respec the tree so it looks a bit like that, and then you go and do your crawl lab, and that is before Act 7 Temple of Decay boss. Having that evasion there will be massive, so you can run through the mobs and get to that boss quicker. Yeah. So from there, save that, there we go. From there you get into Act 8 to 10, and then you run your Merc Lab, and that puts you in a prime spot to then do Endless Heist. That's a rough guide of where you should be, and this is a 59 to 60 baby Endless Heist if you want to do that. Again, if you want to go up to 61, 60, 61, 61, 62, feel free to get more passive points and change of gear. This is just Act 10, so once you've finished, or you're skipping baby heist, either or, it's where you need to be just before you're killing Katava, or roundabout there. And then after that, if you're going to go on and farm blueprints, then obviously you're going to need to get some levels, either through maps or delve, or just running blueprints. As is where we start adding the cluster, and we get our Eternal Lab or Uber Lab and get Way of the Poacher. Yeah, and we start our cluster setup up here. If you go further on to level 85, you get more cluster bits, and level 90 more cluster bits, and there we go. Now I have included after level 90 you can then start going to Ascendancy Jewels, but these trees also include an Ashes of the Stars. That is mandatory for these two skill trees, so we're not going to go into those here. Moving on to the skills, again this is messy, I will sort it out when I have more time. This is based on league start. If you're not league starting with this character and you're doing it mid-league, it's fine. Leveling uniques, buy all the gems from Lilith and equip them when you level up. Pretty much the same as the baby heist, toxic rain, totems, castle damage taken setup, auras, purifying flame and defiance banner. No, I'll remove those. Save. Have I did the same in here? No, there you go. So that should be determination. There we go. Drop that down to level 10. Dunk dunk. Take it off. There we go. That's better. There are your 3 auras for leveling through the axe. You may not have enough mana efficiency, so choose which ones you want to turn on depending on where you are in the campaign. Course to Kara again with Mirage Archer set up, and there's your movement boots, speed, Frost Blink from Act 1, buy it from the vendor, and then you get phase run, etc, etc. It's all in the notes, which we'll go into in a moment. Level 60 to 80, Toxic Rain 6 link, castle damage taken 4 link setup, Course to Kara with our decay, auras are all done, movement speed in your thing. Now this setup includes alt quality and woke gems, but without an Ashes of the Stars. So there's all that lot, and then when you've got, this is the BIS setup, so if you've got an Ashes of the Star it changes slightly. Still needing Enlighten level 4. So moving on to the items. League starter maps. Again, I've already covered the uniques section in the previous section on Baby Heist, so we're not going to discuss that anymore. Those are the uniques I suggest. They're BIS. If you get one, great. If you don't, well, make an alternative approach. That's all I can say, really. 60 to 80, Queen of the Forest, Devotos, and the 6-link Quill Ring. And then this is your cluster setup. Chaos damage with the 3 most popular Unholy Grace, Unwavering Evil, Wicked Pal. Ideally, with the changes to Harvest, you should be able to craft this yourself if you're running maps and if you're harvest crafting. I used to be able to do this in the previous iteration of Harvest. Just spam Chaos and you'll get it eventually. Really easy to craft. Same with this damage over time. Getting Wicked Pal and Flow of Life is quite hard. I've done some research. The best way to do it is with fossils and luck, because you use a pristine fossil, an aberrant fossil, and I can't remember what the third one is. But again, hit it up on Craft of Exile, it'll help you out. But that is the BIS medium clusters. We use one of those, and then we have Mana Reservation and a life one for Blessed, which is life, mana, and chaos resist. Again, buy the base, roll itself, or pay more and get one pre-rolled. Your choice. As we go through, we're now into the setups without ashes, with ashes, and again the Ascendancy Jewels. Once you bypass level 90, Ashes of the Stars is implied. No idea how expensive they're going to be. If you don't get one and you go past level 90, then just pick up the passives and you should be fine. This build can do T16 red maps. Al can go. I got a video from, I think it was 3.17. I did a Kirak T16 map. Use 3 portals on the boss, so it is a bit sketchy. I'm not even sure you'll be able to do the 2 quest void stones on this build. But they're akin to an Al can go map, so it should be okay. Outside of that though, I really don't suggest doing any sort of bigger bosses, pinnacle bosses. This build is primarily aimed at running blueprints or contracts in heists. On to the notes section. Much like the Baby Heist one, I've gone all through here and updated it for you all. With the optional heap of all there, again it's optional, and then how you can really min-max the build if you want to, with suggested best in slot items for wokes and alt qualities, and then caveat down here, if you really want to go big, you can upgrade to Mage Blood, get Awakened Enlightened Gem, and then it'll be gem corruptions, gear corruptions. Depends how much currency. The more currency you have, theoretically the build gets better, but I'll leave that for you to decide. And the third and final build tonight, Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. I did try a Raider version of this. It was okay. I prefer the Pathfinder, so that is the POB I will be supplying. This is the one I've been playing today in between doing all my chores, etc. So here we go then. Level 1 to Act 1 to 4. Sorry, not level. God, I'm so tired. You kind of come through here. You aim to get this as soon as possible. You've got the life here. Up to, I would suggest going up to Heart of Oak, then getting Quick Step, and then aiming for Poisonous Fangs and getting the Claw Mastery, getting the final movement speed and spell suppression node there, coming down for the life nodes here, coming down for this life cluster, and then as soon as you get Plague Bearer in around about Act 3, you want to have this mastery, or you want to apply that mastery as you get Plague Bearer, sorry. And then it's just getting the DPS nodes going around. Survivalist is really big for this build. Those extra resistances and that extra evasion is massive. And then we come round for Revenge of the Hunted with the Grace Mana Reservation. And then obviously we get Normal Lab. I suggest going Nature's Reprisal. That is what I would do, mainly for the increased area of effect for Plague Bearer. But it's up to you. You could come down and get Master Toxicist first, or Nature's Adrenaline, or Nature's Boon. Excuse me. They're the 4 ascendancy points. Whichever one you want to go for first, that's up to you. We do 5 to 7, and like the other 2 builds, before you get into the Temple of Decay, you want to get your Cruel Lab done. Might be a bit sketchy, but I've made it through every time I've tested this build without a problem, mainly due to the mass amounts of chaos damage. Again, I suggest here taking Nature's Boon for your second ascendancy in Cruel Lab, and there is the tree for you. Going into Act 8 to 10 and Merc Lab. Merc Lab, we gain Master Toxicist, if I'm pronouncing that properly, blah blah blah. And there's the suggested tree. You're going to need Mage Bane for the spell suppression. I will say that. You do get spell suppression capped. I know this is not saying, but that's due to the gear. We'll go into the gear in a moment. There's a tree for Act 10. Again, you can do Endless Heist as an option. There's no tree for it. If you follow my channel by now, you should know what you're doing when you're de-leveling from the Act Kill Katava quest state down to either a baby heist strategy or a level 66 to 67 strategy. That's entirely your choice. There's no tree for it. If you're going to go 66 to 67, this is kind of your tree. There's 67. Just knock off a node somewhere. Probably the Chaos Resistance is going to be the easiest one. That'll put you down to 66 and you're good to go. 66, 67, Endless Heist. Boff. Yeah. If you go past the Endless Heist, you either want to run this as a normal build, a non-heist build, that's fine. It do the job. Mine is currently at level 80 something. Is it? No, it's down for maintenance. Yeah. Oh well. PoE is now down for maintenance as Sentinel League comes to a close. So there we go. That's that. 8 to 10 Merc Lab is your 66, 67. So we go from there. If you want to go further, that's fine. There's your tree for you. There's your 4 ascendancies for Eternal / Uber Lab. And at level 80, we start going into the standard chaos damage cluster jewel. Yeah, and then you can go take it all the way up. I've done it all the way up to 90. That gives you a full cluster setup with a Watcher's Eye, as you can see there. After that, 91 to 100, if you're going to push it that far, I highly suggest Life, Resists, possibly coming up to get Ballistics for the extra DPS, but going through this Life node here, I know it's only 4%, but it's better than 10 dex. So you get the 4% Life, then you go up to Ballistics, and probably down here for some more Life. Yeah, maybe here for some more mana, depending on how you're finding your mana reservation. Your choice. I haven't done any more. Time constraints, really. I'm so tired. Skills. We start off with Caustic Arrow, a 3-link Caustic Arrow, Mirage Archer, and Onslaught, and a 3-link Puncture, Ballista Totem, Chance to Bleed. That is the best setup to kill Brutus as quickly as possible. He moves around a lot. I would suggest if you can't get a 3-link 2 red 1 green, then get a 1 red 1 green, Puncture, Chance to Bleed. You'd have to self-cast it. If you don't want to self-cast it, then drop the Chance to Bleed and then go Puncture, Blessed's Totem. It still does a ton of damage. You're just missing that bleed, and he does bleed a lot. So yeah, it's a lot of damage on Brutus. Dash and Blink Arrow for the same reasons I've mentioned in the other 2 chapters. Dash and Blink Arrow don't share a cooldown at the moment, so you can dash and Blink Arrow and get through the act faster. With this build, as soon as you've killed Mavail, you go back to Act 1 Dump all the gems because we're changing into our poisonous concoction. Poisonous concoction, LMP, chance to poison. You keep your dash, buy precision and vitality, and as it says here, you never ever level them. They stay as level 1. Don't level them, you will screw your mana over. Once we've done that change to Act 1, we're into Act 2. We're looking at a 3-link poisonous concoction, lesser projectiles. As soon as you get void manipulation, you take out chance to poison. Dash, blood rage, does a ton of damage, and our life sustain is amazing, but you're only using it for bosses or tricky rares. Don't use it all the time, you'll kill yourself. We then pick up Herald of Agony, and we are still looking at precision and vitality at level 1. Again, don't level them. We move into Act 3, where we suddenly get all our auras, and hopefully you've picked up a 4-link green. So you've got Poisonous Concoction, LMP, Void Manipulation and Vicious Proj. We've still got Precision and Vitality at the moment. We've now got our Herald of Agony. We're running Dash, Blood Rage, Plague Bearer and Alchemist Mark. Alchemist Mark is not in the POB database at the moment, so I've just put Sniper's Mark in there, but it is actually Alchemist Mark. That's the mark we'll be using. The only problem I had with this build going through, I went from Act 1 right the way through to the start of Act 6. Boss damage was a nightmare. I had to use 2 to 4 portals on every single boss. Because I had no Alchemist Mark, and being stupid, I didn't think to pick up a Sniper's Mark on that test run. So hopefully you get Alchemist Mark and it'll make a whole lot of difference, because the only reason I needed to use the portals on the bosses, lack of flasks. So, and I've got here, you've got Grace currently in your offhand, just getting some XP. Into Act 4 to 6. By this point you've got pretty much almost your endgame setup. We're still on the same 4-link poisonous concoction. We just replace LMP with GMP when you pick it up from the quest state. We've now dropped precision and vitality. We are now running Grace and Herald of Agony. We then also get our Plague Bearer, Blood Rage and increased area of effect running. Dash, Alchemist Mark, and we've got Greater Volley and Phase Run in and offhand. After that we hit Act 6, we go and complete Lilith's quest if this is a League Start character for you, and then if you've got enough currency you'll be looking to pick up all of these gems. So we then move into our Cast When Damage Taken Molten Shell Life Tap. Life Tap forever remains at level 1. The best way to get the 20% quality is to hard cap that quality with 20 GCPs. If you're running Heist, you'll find it easy. Just make sure your filter shows any gem with quality 1% up to 20%. You'll be surprised how many you find. Vendor all of those for GCPs. Bam, Life Tap, 20% quality. Okay, we then move into our auras, which will end up being Grace, Herald of Agony, Malevolence. You're not going to be able to fit them all in. You must have a Herald of Agony on. That is the one that's non-negotiable. And then it's up to you. You can either take the Grace for the increased evasion or take Malevolence for the damage over time. Your choice, I'll let you pick. Poisonous Concoction, hopefully, with a lot of luck, or currency, you get a 5-link, so we'll just add Unbound Ailments to our Poisonous Concoction. We then move into our utility setup. Plague Bearer, Blood Rage and increased area effects you've already got. We just add in the Alchemist's Mark. Again, Alchemist's Mark is not in the POB database at the moment, so we're just putting Sniper's Mark in there. And then finally our movement speed setup. So Dash, Second Wind, Phase Run. The idea of Phase Run is to help you move quicker in the Axe / in Heist. It's just nice to get that extra 10% movement speed. And then again another level 1 Life Tap. And yeah, we're still leveling Greater Volley in our offhand. Until you get the 6th link for Poisonous Concoction, Greater Volley will just sit in the offhand levelling up. Any gems from quests that you don't want, you can also throw in your offhand, level them up for your future characters or just to sell to trade. And finally, you get the Endless Heist option here. Again, you can de-level down to 59, 60 to Baby Heist level, or you can stay at 66, 67, your choice, or you can move on to maps. Again, totally your choice. All three are viable options. This is the end game setup for the gems, so you're looking at a full cast and damage taken. I've also included the BIS alt quality and awakened gems. Again, that is completely up to you how much you want to invest in this character. They're there as an option. Auras the same, enlighten / wake enlighten, depend on how much currency you got. Same with the alt qualities, but that is the BIS setup. Poison Concoction, again we've got our 6th link, 1, 2, 3, 4 Wakened Gems, Divergent Poisonous Concoction as well. Don't be put off by the Awakened Gems, you don't have to get them, it is going to be completely up to you. It's a currency sink if you have the currency and you want to get a ton more DPS. Same with the utilities, Awakened Area Effect and just a Divergent Plague Bearer. A reminder, Sniper's Mark is actually Alchemist's Mark, it's just not in the database. And finally, our moveset. The only real one really in is a suggestion, it's a personal preference, is Divergent Second Wind. So when you're using dash or phase run, you get that little bit of extra life. Moving on to gear. There we go. So there's only 3 levels of gear here through the campaign. I haven't included the straight level 1 setup to match the skills for the first act here. You're looking for a 3 green linked bow and a 1 green 2 red linked something, anything, chest, gloves, helm, boots, doesn't matter where it goes, and then just 2 green sockets, and that's only to kill my veil, which is why it's not in this setup. Is literally once my veil's done, you ditch the bow, you ditch your quiver if you got one, and you're redoing your gear. So hopefully you've picked up a 3 link or a goat hide buckler, and then as you go through the acts, you're aiming to pick up a shield with the all resistance implicits on there to help you out with your resistances. I think it starts off at 4 and then goes to 8, 12. I think there might be one at 16, I can't remember. And then the rest is literally armor evasion bases all the way through. And boots, as I've covered before, movement speed priority on any base, whether you craft it with the vendor recipe or you buy one from the vendor. You do want an intelligence amulet, an Act 1, buy it from Nessa as soon as she's got one available. Look for a high implicit roll, she does sell them. I've brought a maxed out one once, I was over the moon. And then you're looking for the heavy belt for the strength. So between those two, that's kind of your amulets done. Until you start getting the int strength amulet drop as you go through the acts, and then you just replace the int amulet with that one, and then that may open up your belt slot for a leather belt, or if you really want to, a chain belt for that energy shield, your choice. For the rings here, Act 1 obviously you want the sapphire one for the cold resistance. You go into Act 2 for the topaz, for what's his face in the pyramid, Val. Act 3 for ruby, only if you're going to fight Gravicious. If you don't want to fight him, I'm pretty sure you can bypass him. For us, we do need some gems from Maramoa, so ideally you do need to stop off and kill him. I know it takes time, so grab a couple of ruby rings and you should be fine. And then you go on to Act 4, you go on to the dual res for like there's fire and cold, cold lightning, cold and fire, just to cap out your resist. That's all you're looking to do, and that's for both your ring slots. Quicksilver flask, obviously you get one in Act 1, and if you do the den you get another one in Act 2. I've commented this on before on the 2 previous builds. a mana flask that you want to keep updated, highest level you can use, because our poisonous concoction is quite expensive. Even at end game it's quite expensive to pound. And then life flasks. As soon as you enter every act, run up to the vendor and buy 3 life flasks, the highest ones you can use. Poison concoction can burn through them. Also, you're going to need them to heal yourself if you're getting a bit of a sticky situation with a boss. So you do need 3 life flasks. Yeah, so you're going to burn through wisdom scrolls buying them. But remember, we don't use weapons. So any weapon stones you find, wheat stones, aren't they? Blacksmith whetstones, I think they're called. Sell them. Each one sells for 4 or 8 wisdom scrolls. More than enough wisdom scrolls. Oh, hold on. Let's just get rid of that for a moment. There we go. And then again, like the other two, you get the endless heist option there. I'll just pop that in there as a reminder. And then we get to the end game gear. And we'll switch to... yeah, we'll just go to the level 90. Bam, there we go. So, once again, on uniques, I have no idea how rare they're going to be. I have no idea what the cost is going to be. This is the best unique items on a simplified Pathfinder. If you go back on my YouTube or in the Google Doc, I think it's still there. There is that complicated poison flask where you're using, I think it's 4 or 5 uniques I think it's to poison you and then to turn that poison into cold, and then I can't remember it was clunky. I found it clunky. I found it annoying. I don't even know if some of those uniques now exist. I won't suggest that build, but this is far more simpler and a lot easier. Alpha's Howl is the best helm if you're going to go past baby heisting. Any aura mana reservation that we're using, fine, get it enchanted eventually. Body armor, you can use a rare, that's fine. If you're going to use a rare, go after the new Gravicious Prefix Betrayal Craft, physical damage to fire and lightning, I think it is. You can use a Dendrobate as well, but Cherubim's Malfeasance is the BIS. And then it's just armor evasion bases all over the place with a very big amulet. That is what you're kind of looking for at endgame. The Sovereignty anointment is kind of mandatory as soon as you can afford 3 silvers, unless you're running Blight yourself and you drop 3 silvers, whatever. And you need that mana craft on your rings as well. Even at endgame level, why isn't it showing me? Oh, let's just go back to the skills and go to endgame, bomb, and then go to poison flask. So we've got our gear on endgame, we've got our tree at level 90, and you can see there with the 3 -7s you're down to 14. If you want to quality that with the life and mana quality, you can get it down another 3. But bearing in mind this unreserved mana is with Sovereignty, it's with a Awakened level 5 Enlighten. So depending on your expenses and level of Enlighten, that mana can go right down. So yeah, this is kind of the BIS setup really. Flask wise, at this point you should be fine with just the 1 flask. If you'll feel more comfortable, I would drop out the sulfur flask or maybe the granite, or one of them, and just pop in another life flask. Should be fine. We've already spoken about replica conquest efficiency. Watcher's Eye, again, it just depends. Those aren't ideal rolls anymore. The Grace one should be movement speed by Grace. Then you'd want the Malevolence, and then if you've really got enough money, you're then after the Determination roll. So 3-stat Watcher's Eye is BIS. Cluster Jewels we've already covered as well. Damage over time ones, Brood for Potency, Circling Oblivion. If you're running Harvest, you should be able to craft them yourself. And then just a standard Cobalt Jewel with some damage over time, attack speed, and life. That's the gear. On to the notes. So again, just to reiterate, we start off with Caustic Arrow, Mirage Archer and Puncher. We buy, you really need the chance to bleed over Onslaught if you can get the relevant 3-link you need to run the Puncher totem. And then after that you start getting your LMP for your Poisonous Concoction. That should be an Int Amulet. I should update that. Int Amulet STR Belt. You should drop one on your filter, but just in case you don't, just buy one. They're usually only Wisdom Scrolls. And then once you complete all flame, you get your Poisonous Concoction and throw it in your offhand. Once you kill them with Veil, then you need to switch to Poisonous Concoction. And there's a reminder there again: do not level Vitality or Precision. And then this just takes you through the build. I haven't included these on the gear list, but it is an option to go after the 2 Lahip of Alls. It's just, they're so good. All comes through, and then we go down to the Act 6 links are all there for you. And then what to buy, when to buy it, and then if you want to go BIS, there's all the gems you want to get. After you've got all the gems, or during, if you're farming them or got enough currency, you'll be then looking to apply Eldritch Implicits to your rare gear and gem corruptions, getting a Made Bludge, getting an Ashes of the Stars, all that kind of goodness. So there we go. That is the 3 complete POBs for you. I hope you've enjoyed them. I put a lot of work into them over the last few days. They'll go on the Google document with this video. I'll try and get chapters applied to this video. I'm not sure how it is because I'm so tired right now. Please forgive me if I don't. I will get better, I promise. Thanks for watching. Hope you find this information. If you're going to use any 3 of these builds, let me know how you get on, either on the Discord channel through TFT or DMs, Twitter DMs, or just comment on the video. Garth412 everywhere. Stay safe in Rogue Harbour.